Hey y'all, it's Jamie, and today I want to catch up with you about what's been going on in my life. I have been really frustrated with my career and the YouTube channel and just a lot of stuff that's been going on, and so I thought I kind of owed it to you since I haven't made a video in about 3 months to talk about what's going on. And actually things are going a lot better for me, but it's really changed kind of some of the priorities in my life, and so I thought making this video today to kind of tell you what's going on. I'm going to be super casual, just kind of read my notes off my iPad. Maybe it'll help you understand where I'm going with the channel, some of the things I'm struggling with, and maybe this will help you too if you're struggling with some things in your career, so that you, as I always make these videos, don't make the same mistakes that I do. You know, if ever there was a time to both figuratively and literally make a video that's a come to Jesus moment, this is it. I've had a lot of challenges in my family over the last few months, mostly with my kids, but also in my marriage, and it's been really hard for me to figure out what to do about it. But in all that, you know, I've also been just trying to figure out, you know, what am I going to do with my YouTube channel? How am I going to help people out there? You know, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I make these videos really to help software developers that are struggling in their career. Usually these videos, I hope they do help people that are new to software development, but usually I think they're going to be a little bit more helpful to people who have been doing it for a while and they're starting to get frustrated with things. It's a really hard career, you know that. And so one of the frustrations I have with software development right now, and kind of with society in general, is there's just a lot of outrage. There's a lot of anger, and I've realized that I'm a big part of that. You know, I have a very small following, so I don't really feel like, you know, I'm some kind of toxic presence out there that's, you know, pissing a ton of people off. But I went back and I was watching some of my other videos, and I really wasn't really happy. I was kind of like, I don't really like that guy, especially my older videos. And I was trying to figure out, you know, what is it that really bothers me so much, and why do I need to talk to you about this? Well, I think a big part of it is a lot of what's going on right now in society. A lot of people, and this is, I'm just going to share with you my opinion. You know, I mean, everybody's got their opinion. If you don't agree with mine, that's fine. But, you know, there's no sense making these videos if I'm going to try to sugarcoat this or tell you an opinion that everybody's going to agree with. I try to be totally honest with you here. What I'm seeing going on a lot is that, you know, people just want to make up their own rules about software development. People want to kind of cherry pick practices. People have been on 1 or 2 projects and seen something that's worked, and now they think it's universal, and they're going out there making a book, or they're going out there selling a course, or they're writing a blog post. And I think it's so great what the internet's given us over the last, you know, 20 years, where everybody now has a voice, myself included. You know, I'm super fortunate. If we didn't have YouTube, I wouldn't even be able to be here talking to you right now. So I'm super blessed and grateful for it. But part of the danger of it is, and I'm experiencing this a lot, and maybe you are too, that now that everybody has a voice, it can be really hard to know, you know, who do you listen to? Who really even knows what they're talking about? And I've shared in many other videos that I think, you know, from the most junior person straight out of college to somebody who's been, you know, working in the industry for 30, 40 years, there's something to learn from everyone. And I really do believe that. But I also think that, you know, it's been frustrating for me as somebody who's been doing this a long time. You know, there's a running joke between my brother, and my cousin that, like, you could practically play like a beer drinking game, you know, take a shot every time I say how many years of experience I have. Because of my earliest videos, I've said how I was really uptight coming onto YouTube, and I felt like I had to constantly say, oh, I've been doing this a really long time. But as somebody who's been doing this a long time, and if you've watched any of my other videos, you know it's not like I worked at one company for a really long time and just started making YouTube videos. You know, I've been really fortunate, I think, that I've been able to work with many different companies across many different industries and many different sizes. And so a lot of the stuff that I talk about in these videos, it's not as attractive to people that just like, hey, I want to know how to be the best Python programmer. I want to know how to make X dollars. I mean, this is really stuff that I started making these videos because I felt like there weren't many really experienced people out there that were willing to really put an honest take on this industry out there. And so I just felt like whether there were enough people that there would be some audience to hear this, or it was just going to only be a few people, I needed to do this. I just felt like for my own conscience, and as I've shared with you before, running into developer after developer after developer that are really honestly pissed off and frustrated in their career, it was something that I just felt like needed to be done. But the difficult thing is, as someone who's been in the industry for a really long time, Twitter, for example, for me, has been really hard for me to be out there. I kind of avoided social media for about the last, 5 to 8 years, other than maybe like Facebook. Partially, I was just so busy in my life, working a lot and stuff. But, when I started making these YouTube videos and I started trying to put my opinions out there, and I started posting stuff on Twitter and LinkedIn and, Instagram and all this, I'm honestly kind of disappointed and frustrated with how much outrage there is out there. It feels to me, and I'm not trying to criticize anybody in particular, so I really hope if there's somebody watching this video and you're well known or you're very active on Twitter that you don't think I'm criticizing you specifically. I'm not. I'm just, maybe you'll think about this and how it's affecting people, because I've been doing this too. Everybody's out there telling people, your company's so screwed up. Here's how you should be doing Agile. How stupid can you be to not realize that this is, what the Scrum Guide says, or this is what the Agile Manifesto says. And I've really realized that, I too have really come across as a jerk in some of my videos and my frustration. And so I want to say I'm sorry for that, because some people like that. And there's a lot of YouTube videos that get a lot of attention for people's anger, and people love to see passion, right? I do too, but I really don't think it helps anybody for me to just be another critical, angry person out there. I also think that the general vibe that people get when they go on to Twitter now, or onto, Reddit, for example, is just this super pissed off, angry, negative perspective of software development. And, I love this career, and I love this job. I started doing this right out of college. I've been doing it a really long time, and I honestly got into this just because I love to tell computers, how to do stuff and see it work. Over time, I started to get, more aware of the fact that, agile development and how people work together and, soft skills and all the stuff I talk about on my channel was important, but that's not why I originally got into it. And so, it's become very popular today to be really negative and really just kind of almost show off about how much we think we know by telling people, the right way to do something. And so I just want to tell you that, I really am committing to, from here on out, I'm really going to try to be a little more discerning with what I tell you. I'm not going to hold back, and then I'm not going to tell you something that I don't believe is the truth. But I regret that some of my past videos, I've really kind of let myself fly off the handle. And I've also just come across like I know everything. And I just am going to tell you right now, the longer I've been in this career, this really started to happen to me about 10 years into it. I started to realize that, like, nobody knows everything in this industry. Nobody even knows close to everything. And one of the most difficult things about working in this career is that when you get hired and you get brought into a company, everybody wants to feel like, because they're paying so much money, software developers usually get paid really well. Everybody wants to think that you're going to come in there and you're going to be super dependable and never make mistakes and be able to predict everything. And, your estimates are going to be super solid, and you're never going to, not get along with somebody else. And that's just BS. The reality is, the more political companies are, and the more they just sort of put on a mask and they expect everybody else to act like everything's predictable, I really personally believe, and this has been my experience, that they waste a ton of money and they just lose lots of people, because people get sick of working like that. If I'm working really hard on a project, I want to feel like I can be honest with management or my peers. If I've made a mistake, or maybe I see somebody that I think they need some help, I don't want to feel like I have to play games, and I don't want to feel like I'm fighting other people. And unfortunately, I think this is just how we are as humans. We want to pretend that we can predict the future and we can control everything, and we look at all the technological advancements that we've made, and we're proud of them, and we think, to the stars, humanity can do everything. And I just, as I've gotten older, and this is kind of showing my age, but I think it's important to at least talk about, one of the things I've realized, a little tiny bit of maybe wisdom that I've earned over all these years, is just that we actually, as people, I think, are really way more flawed than we want to admit. We're very prideful, myself included. I have a lot of ego and pride issues that I'm constantly fighting to work through. We want to be approved of by other people. We don't like when other people don't like us. And I've done some really stupid things in my career when I sense that somebody doesn't like, my opinion, when I should have been like, it doesn't matter if they don't like me. I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but I'm just going to continue to stand my ground. And if anybody who's worked with me knows I'm very professional, and I can be firm, but I also will waffle at times. If you've got like the CTO or the CEO breathing down your neck about something and they're really adamant about you working a certain way, to push back against that, it's really hard. It's really easy to just go, well, they're paying me, I got to do whatever they say. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm so angry in some of these videos. And part of it is, again, I got bought into sort of the outrage culture on social media out there. But another one is, if you've watched, I've done many videos on software projects I've been on and kind of given you the behind the scenes a little bit on them. I've been on a lot of failed projects, and many of these projects I was promised by a manager or somebody I was working with, if you get us through this, we'll give you a promotion, or you're going to get a big raise, or this is going to be a big opportunity. And so, and this was my own fault. I took them at their word, which I think you should do. You have to take people at their word. If you're skeptical of every single person you meet, you're going to be miserable. And this is kind of, been something that I've unfortunately fallen into, is becoming too skeptical. But, I've had people promise things to me and just not give them to me. And I've also just had so many projects go wrong because the way they were managed, some of the personnel, tons of reasons. Because, as I said before, we're all humans. We're not perfect. And I really think a lot of these companies I've worked at are very political, and people aren't able to be completely honest with each other. And so there's a lot of, I've talked about this in other videos, there's a lot of people that will hide the state of their work, or they'll tell people what they want to hear. And that really ultimately just delays the inevitable, failure of a project or missed deliverable. And then you just get into these situations where it's just politics. It's people telling each other what they want to hear, not the truth. And I think all those failed projects I've been on, even though most people that know me know I'm a really positive person. Like if you were to go out to coffee with me or just hang around me, actually, I'm very positive actually most of the time. But in my career and in my industry, the software industry, being on all these failed projects, no matter how hard I try to stay positive about it, it's made me somewhat jaded. And when I say made, I don't accept that I'm always going to be jaded like this. And I'm actually getting a lot of help, and I'm going to talk to you about this in a second. And thanks for watching this. I know this is kind of long, but I think it might help you understand where I'm coming from, where the channel's going. But being on so many failed projects, it's difficult to keep yourself out of a negative mindset where, honestly, almost every software project I start, I have to kind of tell myself, this project's going to go okay. Don't walk into it assuming that it's going to be like the other projects you've been on. If you see one or two red flags or things go wrong, don't automatically assume it's going to be like other projects that have failed. And many times they have been, and I hate to say that. Now, having said that, I don't want to give you this perspective that every software project is going to be a failure or that most of them are horrible. I will say they're all imperfect, but that doesn't mean they're horrible. But I think when I watch some of my earlier videos, and again, I just feel kind of bad with how I've come across in some of them. I just want you to understand it's partially just stuff I'm working through myself to not be as angry with how things have went in my career, and just try to stay positive. And the last thing I would ever want to do with these videos, believe me, is to dissuade somebody from this career, to turn them away and make them feel like, wow, this is really screwed up. I don't even want to get involved in this. Like I said, earlier in the video, I love software development. It's you do this, right? Whether you're in UX or ops or, writing code or whatever, you know that feeling when you create something or you design it and you figure out how to get it to work, and maybe you hand a design off to the developers and they implement it and the customer's using it and you got it to work, and it's actually helping them solve a problem, or you're just blown away with what you can do with the technology. It's such a cool feeling, and I'm a very creative person. One of the things that I've started to do lately, and one of the reasons I haven't been making as many videos is, because of some of the stress I've been under and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, I've kind of had to back off from making these videos and pursuing all these, developer and career and coaching related things to just kind of refresh, honestly, myself and recover from my last few projects, which were really hard. And so I started writing songs again. My dad was a songwriter, not professionally, but he wrote a lot of songs. I've always written songs, mostly I start them on acoustic guitar and then I, maybe record them with the computer or whatever. But I always did this not like to be a big musician or something, but just because it's fun. It's a creative endeavor. Well, software development's the same thing. And I think one of the reasons why I'll get angry, and a lot of people will get angry, is when you're working at a company and you're not actually able to be creative, you're just kind of forced to be stuck in this super rigid box because of the way the project's managed. I don't believe as humans we were designed to work like that. I really feel that software development, it's engineering, but it's more of an art. If you think about when you write code, you're not writing a spec that, okay, line 1 will be like this and line 2 will be like this and dependency injection will only occur in this way. I mean, I'm getting geeky, but my point being, there's a ton of freedom today in the way that we write software, and I think it should stay that way. And so, we've got all these companies that unfortunately, and they mean well, they just don't understand this, that, software development is a creative act. It's an act born through the ingenuity and the inspiration of the engineers working on it, no matter, how well the screen designs or, the algorithms have been maybe designed and thought through ahead of time. There's a lot of just off the cuff stuff that's just done in the middle of writing the code, that if people aren't given the space and the environment to really be creative and be supported, it makes the job miserable. So, the other thing, and my brother noticed this in the last few videos that I made, because he was like, wow, man, you really look bad in your videos. And I've been pushed over my career so many times to work overtime. And you probably have too. And one of the things that I've really been trying to get help with, and again, I'm gonna talk about this in a moment here, but is setting boundaries, being good about pushing back when people are trying to ask me to do things that are just not reasonable, honestly, and are going to actually cause my sleep or my kind of work-life balance to really suffer. I mean, anybody who's worked with me knows I will work any kind of overtime and things like that to a level. I've always been like that to make sure stuff gets done, but I seem to get on these projects often where I'm not just working a little overtime, I'm working a lot of overtime, and it's really stressful, and it's really stressful to the whole team. And so, one of the reasons I think I get angry sometimes too, or kind of irritated in these videos and looking exhausted, frankly, is just because I don't get enough sleep. I mean, if you guys knew how many personal development books I've read and videos I've watched and courses I've taken, I mean, like every big person you can think of, almost, mental health, self-improvement, productivity, all the names that I'm sure you probably have heard of at this point, I've read I don't want to say all of them, but I've read so many of the books. I've tried so many of the diets. I've done so many things. And, you know, I've learned a lot of things, but ultimately one of the things that I just was never great at was setting boundaries. And my wife, you know, through some things she's went through in her life and through therapy and things, she's gotten really good at setting boundaries, or at least much better than me. And I want to have her on eventually where we might both kind of talk about our experiences with it, you know, and maybe learn something from that. But so I want to talk a little bit about, you know, what went wrong. How could somebody who has been in this industry for so long, I've made really good money. I've had a ton of opportunities. I've been super fortunate in my career. Be angry. How could I possibly be angry? How could I still, after all these years and all these different companies, you know, going in as a consultant and helping them with their product management, helping them with their DevOps, all this stuff, be angry at this point? So I'm going to just share with you, honestly, you know, some personal stuff here that I think, you know, maybe some of you will relate to. And you don't have to agree with this, but it's the truth. And I think you deserve this if you're going to watch this channel. One of the first big mistakes I think I made was, you know, I was raised in the church from the time I was about 7 years old. I was a Christian. And around the time I was 14, 15 years old, you know, I kind of got into the music scene and I wanted to smoke pot with my friends and I wanted to party all the time. And so I stopped going to church. You know, I didn't want to be around a bunch of people that were partying and then, you know, on the weekend go to church. I just felt like a total hypocrite. And, you know, Christianity is about the most unpopular religion, especially in the United States right now. You know, there's so much press about, you know, horrible things that people do in the name of Christianity, and they do. You know, people do horrible things in the name of pretty much anything you can think of, in my opinion. And I'm not here to convince you that you should approve of my beliefs. I don't really care. But I basically walked away from the church at about 14, 15 years old, and I just wanted to live life my way. You know, I wanted to make my own decisions. I didn't want to, you know, respect other people's authority. You know, my parents were kind of hippies when they were younger, and I really liked that, you know, attitude and that idea of just like, I'm going to live free. I'm going to do stuff the way I want. I'm not going to listen to, you know, people that try to hold me down. And well, unfortunately, I ended up getting my girlfriend pregnant when I was 19. And had a son. And I've shared with you, and I did a playlist called My Software Development Journey, where I kind of talk about my whole story. But, you know, I've been a father for a really long time, and started to sweat in here. It's kind of hot. Summer in Austin. I really blew it as a dad in a lot of ways. I'm so thankful that I still am with my wife, the girl that I had my oldest with. But man, I did not think I could be a father. I resisted it almost every step of the way. I felt like I was totally unequipped to do it. I felt embarrassed when I'd go out in public because I was so young with kids. I had a really hard time hanging out with my kids when they were little. You know, I see other people now that are older and they have kids and they spend all this time with them. And you know, I feel sad sometimes because I know when my sons, who are, you know, they're older now, they're in their 20s. You know, when they were little, I was really angry and I was really bitter. And, you know, when I got into software development, which was only a couple years after I had my oldest son, I started making a lot of money. And I remember my dad told me, he was like, I really hope, you know, he was really happy for me that I made all this money, but he was like, I really hope the money doesn't change you. And I remember I heard that and I was like, what are you trying to say? You know, like, you think I don't have the right character, or like, you know, I felt kind of insulted, but you know, he was wise. He knew what money can do. He wasn't stupid. I was. I had no idea what I was getting into. And unfortunately, about 3 or 4 years later, he died of cancer. And when my dad died, it just tore apart my family, and it tore me apart. And I was really depressed. I started smoking pot, you know, pretty much whenever I would get home from work, to kind of not consciously escape from it, but, you know, because I was grieving. I didn't know how to deal with it. And you know, my wife and I, our relationship, we weren't getting along real well. We were both just struggling a ton with being super young parents. And then I had this super stressful software development job. And so I really, I talked about this in my video. I think it's called Why Do So Many Programmers Lose Hope? How for a long time, even though I was doing really, good by other people's sort of view at work, and I was really successful at home, my life was really not good. I was always trying to kind of escape. I always wanted to come home and just, either play video games, play MMOs or whatever at the time, or I wanted to, play my music, or I wanted to smoke pot, or, whatever. I didn't want to spend time with my kids. I didn't want to work through anything. I had a ton of guilt. I felt horrible, kind of deep down in my heart because of, getting my girlfriend pregnant, hanging out with all these partiers. I know this video is kind of taking a different turn, but I want to share this stuff with you because I think it's important. There's no point in me making these videos and continuing to spend time on this if I'm going to sugarcoat anything and I'm going to just pretend to be who I'm not. And I hope you don't think, ultimately, if you do, I can't stop it. But I hope you don't think that I've been trying to withhold any of this from you. I have talked about it in earlier videos. I've just had a lot happen to me this year. I'm really becoming very aware of how screwed up, honestly, I've been in much of my life, including, when I started this channel and during much of it. And so I think if I'm really going to help you and continue to help you with these videos, I gotta be honest about what's going on. So the other thing is, so as my career went forward and, I was trying to escape and all this stuff, this last 5 years, I don't want to go into a ton of detail because I want to be respectful to his privacy, but one of my sons started having some serious, dangerous problems. And I won't go into all the details, but, where his mom and I were super worried about him, having trouble sleeping, just is terrifying. I could make a whole separate channel about this issue alone, but I won't right now, at least. The combination of what was going on with one of my sons, my frustration with my job, getting through my addiction to weed and all this stuff. You guys, I completely just was broken. I shared with you in another video, I think it was called, Can You Be Agile When Your Company Isn't? How I suffered from insomnia. This was about 2 years ago, really bad insomnia for about 3 weeks. And during that period, if you've ever not been able to sleep like more than 2 hours a night for like a few weeks on end, I would wake up every morning and just be crying. And I was just delirious. I'd throw up. You guys, it's horrible. Really bad chronic insomnia is one of the worst things. I would never wish it on my worst enemy. It's horrible. But I got to this point where I basically just felt like the only thing for me to do was to try to pray or something, and I haven't been to church, and I hadn't been to church in like 20 years or something like that. I was like, it's a crock. Or the thing is, actually, it wasn't that it was a crock. I still believed in God. It was just I didn't want to believe in God. I didn't want to think about all the stupid things I've done. That if you do believe in God, and you believe anything that's in at least the Christian Bible, we're just totally wrong. I just felt horrible about myself, and I didn't want to think about that. I didn't, I didn't think I would ever, be able to make up for any of that. Sorry, I'm kind of stuttering here. It's just hard. It's hard to talk about all this. But I started going to church about 2 years ago, and it was really hard. I just started learning that kind of everything I've been doing my whole career and my whole life was really very wrong. And I knew it was wrong in my heart. I didn't have to go to church to know that it was wrong on some levels, but it just became so crystal clear to me how full of myself I was and how chasing, reputation and status in my career I'd been. And even though, I'd been making this was what started me with the channel was right, right before I started the first video on this channel was when I kind of had this insomnia problem, started going to church again. But, over the last 2 years, I feel like I've been finding out more and more that even though I've been, a consultant and I've learned all these soft skills and I feel like I work pretty well with people, I'm still a pretty flawed, screwed up person. And I think everybody is on some level. And so, what did I start doing? How did I start getting help? Well, so the first thing I started doing, like I said, is I started going back to a church that was here in Austin, and it was really weird. You go into a church after you've been away for 20 years, and you've had, kids that were unplanned, and you've been a pot smoker, and you've been, just doing all kinds of stupid crap. I was really weirded out by the whole thing and just felt completely out of place and like, what, I don't belong here. I'm not even worthy of being here. I just feel weird. But I'll tell you, one of the things that really helped me was I started going on Fridays. My church has a men's group. And I started going to the men's group, and it was amazing. I started meeting all these different men that also worked in tech and a lot of other industries, and finding out that many of them had similar experiences to me, slightly different life stories, but a lot of the same challenges. After, like I said in the beginning of the video, being in this industry and seeing so many people prop themselves up and argue with each other and show off everything they know, I was really refreshed to all of a sudden be around a bunch of men. Honestly, I think women can be, and I know I'm stereotyping here a little bit, but I don't care. I think women can be a little bit more compassionate and a little bit more, they kind of band together and help each other when they're going through things. Men can kind of be lone wolves. They can kind of feel like, I need to suffer on my own, or I don't want to tell another, guy that I'm going through some crap. Well, I was super refreshed and honestly blown away by the fact that these men were willing to talk about their failures, and they were willing to accept me and counsel me, tell me where some areas in my life I was really doing some stupid stuff that I didn't see. And, I didn't necessarily want to hear it, and it didn't necessarily make me feel good, but they did it in a loving way. They weren't judging me. And so that's really been a huge help, and I continue to go to that every week. The other thing is I started seeing a therapist. I saw a therapist when I was in my teen years, when I first started having drug problems. But, since getting through all that, but then realizing I kind of have these other behavioral things and sort of career things, that's super helping me too. I just started going to this therapist that's actually through my church, and amazing dude, super positive. So it's really encouraging. I'm seeing a lot of changes. I know I haven't been making videos as much, and this is why I feel like I owe it to you to tell you kind of what's going on with me. But honestly, my life's getting way better. I've been struggling with what I'm going to do next in my career, but in every other part of my life, in my relationship with my kids, in my ability to sleep, which was, still kind of a struggle after that initial insomnia, in just kind of how I feel about myself. Honestly, I'm doing way better. I'm feeling way better because I'm not so full of myself, for one thing. Not that I don't still struggle with it, but so the other thing is, I realize a couple big problems I've had, that I talked about. One, just, approval addiction, basically just, being really good at my job in the way people are in software development. I started to get, I didn't even realize this consciously. I just started to get to a point where I would only do things if they were, going to get me approval from other people. And not always, but I mean, this started to kind of creep in. And so you don't have to agree with this at all. I'm just telling you what's going on. That's it. I started praying, and I know a lot of people think praying's BS, and I totally don't. And I've read enough to convince me it doesn't matter at this point. This video is not to like convert anybody. This is just to tell you what's going on with me. But, a couple of the things I started praying for, because I know I have problems with them, is one, that I would have more courage to do the things that are right, even when other people don't like me because of them. I started also praying that I would be less angry and less bitter, and that areas in my life where I've become bitter, I would just start to soften sort of my heart and let go of those things because they make me miserable. I don't want to continue to live like this. It's stupid. It's dumb. I don't want to be another angry person on Twitter bitching about the software industry. And then better discernment, basically better decision making. I think I can help companies a lot with software development, but in my own personal life, especially, I just have not made a lot of great decisions. I have made a lot of good decisions. I'm really blessed. I'm really fortunate in a lot of ways in my life. But, when it comes to the day-to-day, no, not real great decisions. And I'm starting to make better ones, but I know I can't do this myself. I basically needed a lot of help. I need a lot of help. So what does this mean for the channel? This is probably what's most important, maybe to you watching. Well, I still want to help frustrated software developers like you out there. I just need to help myself first. That's the honest truth. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop making videos. Doesn't mean I don't care. I really care. I know I can help people out there, but I'm, a human just like everybody else. I don't have everything together. I've got tons to learn. I've got tons of mistakes I've made. I'm in a place right now in my life, I kind of have to focus on some stuff to work through in my family and with myself. So, that really ultimately all that means is, I'll probably put videos out less frequently, maybe, or it might be a little bit sporadic, but I want to make a commitment to you that like I said earlier, I'm really going to try much harder to put out videos that are from the heart, not that they haven't been, but that they don't come from a place of anger, that they come from a place of love and caring about you and wanting to help you in your career. And also just that, I don't put out videos, there's one thing, and you might know this already, but if you ever start a YouTube channel or you've done any kind of social media content, there's so much pressure out there. Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary Vee is probably the biggest name in the industry that talks about this, that, you got to put out content as frequently as possible to feed the algorithms of these platforms so your stuff gets shown. And it's really easy to get sucked into that. I have, there was a period about 1.5 years ago where I was doing a video every single day. And guys, it burned me out hard. I love doing it, but it's like, it doesn't, I don't do this. I never started doing this because I wanted a big name or I wanted, a ton of people subscribing to me or whatever. I did this because I wanted to help people. I just knew also, though, that nobody's going to get helped if they don't see my videos. So I guess I'm just basically saying I have to be a little bit more sustainable and measured and healthy, which is what this channel is about just the way I create these YouTube videos. That's it. The other thing that it means for this channel is that I started making a course that I want to eventually offer through my website. Because I've had a lot of people reach out to me for solo, not consulting, coaching on their career. I used to offer a free 30-day consultation through my website, jamieedwards.com, and you could just do a Skype with me for 30 minutes. And it was a way to kind of figure out what people want and offer some coaching one-on-one for people in their career. And I'll probably offer that again. I've told people that have reached out to me about it again in the future. But one of the things that I think I really could offer, and I've started putting this together, it's just kind of, again, it's had to take a bit of a back burner because of everything going on in my life, is I started creating a course where I want to help people with surviving basically in this industry. Really, it's the same stuff I talk about in a lot of these videos, but I think, one of the challenges of YouTube videos is they're great in that I can get out here, I can say a bunch of stuff, but they're not super actionable. I really want to put something really valuable and really kind of step by step to give you some things that you can do to put your mind in a good mindset. Some of the things that I've done, and then have ways of kind of holding yourself accountable to it. And also, being able to plan your career out better and kind of avoiding fake agile and some of the traps, all the stuff that I've talked about. But, I don't know exactly when that's going to come out. I did start it, several months ago, and it just kind of, again, had to take a back seat for a little while. But I'm not going to offer something out there that is going to ever be one of these, become a $200,000 a year consultant in 6 months, or, just any of these empty promises. There are so many people out there selling these. And again, I got to be careful what I say. I'm trying not to be critical of people that are just trying to make a living and they're trying to find their way. But I got to be honest, there's a lot of people out there that are selling courses about software development career and leadership and kind of some of the niche that I'm in, that I don't want to say they have no business doing it, but I question if they really have the experience to really offer something that's really going to be valuable and really going to work for most people. I even question for myself whether I can create a course that's truly valuable enough for you. I'm not going to put my name on something and put it out there and ask anybody to pay $1 for it unless I really believe, okay, this, I've put the effort into it and I've thought through how to really get people results, and I've really given them the right tools and stuff that I can charge, whatever I end up coming up with, and really be honest and feel like I am really giving people more than they're paying for this. This is really valuable and it's really going to help people. That's the only way I will offer a course. So it's going to take me some time. And, one of the other things that's going on with me is I have decided right now, I've resisted going into management for a really long time. I've spoken to you before about how, I've always been an architect for a long time, but I also have coached managers on, how to do project management better and product management better and Scrum and Agile and DevOps and Lean and all this stuff. But I've never really been responsible for more than a development team. I've never really been responsible for several groups of engineers, or kind of, been in a product management role formally, at least. And I feel like, when I look at my YouTube videos and how I'm not really as passionate anymore about writing super crazy code, I'm more passionate about, business and architecture and people. I'm looking for basically a management position now. I'm interviewing with a few companies. If you know any opportunities and you want to float them my way, DM me on Twitter or however you want to get a hold of me. I'm out there all over the place. But I really feel like my passion right now in this industry when I work is truly to help software companies be more healthy with their culture. And it's not so that, and I know some people who don't know me real well, or who, haven't watched a lot of my videos, or just have kind of their limiting beliefs, might think, oh, well, healthy cultures sounds great, but then it's going to be really wasteful and, people aren't going to get as much done. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know better. You don't have to agree with me, but I know better. That's BS. A healthy culture is essential to the productivity of companies. And again, I don't need to sell you. If you've watched any of my other videos, I'll continue to make more. I've worked at the best companies I've worked at, where people love their job. They do amazing work. They put out, crazy, crazy cool ideas, and they just work together like, really family and friends. It's healthy culture. And I really think, again, I'm not perfect, and I'll continue to make mistakes, but I really think my experience in this industry now, the most valuable part of it, if I were to, either as a consultant or as an employee go into a company, is going to be helping them set up the way people work together so that it's healthy, and that includes, Agile and all that stuff. And I've been a consultant long enough to know, I'm never going to do it on my own. When I go into a company, it's always, there's a ton of other people there. They have their own agenda. They have their own experience where they know things I don't. But I have been very effective, at helping these companies improve their ability to deliver software. But I haven't had it be my actual charter at a company when I'm not like a consultant. It's usually I'm paid to come in, kind of do it temporarily and then leave, which a lot of Agile coaches do. And I don't really want to do that much anymore. I'll do it some, but I'd rather kind of level up my ability to really help the people. I also think too that this is just something, and it might sound weird to you, whatever, that God sort of is calling me to do. Is kind of like, hey, you care so much about people. You've been through a lot of stuff. You've made a lot of mistakes. Maybe you need to take a step in your career, to try something that really pushes you out of your comfort zone and lets you grow. And I just feel like, I've been doing tech, like, this is all tech, but I mean, I've been like kind of at the geeky level or the process level or the code level for so long. The probably biggest area of growth for me is leadership. And it's not to say I'm some sort of natural born leader at all. Some people find me very charismatic, but I also have all my hangups. But I think I know working with other people and leading them takes a lot of concern and care for the other person. You got to care more about who you're leading than yourself. And I really think I can do that. My heart's in the right place. I've known how to serve software development, teams as a consultant. And when I'm, a developer or a lead developer or an architect, this would just be kind of at a little bit different level. So how can you help? I want to talk about this real quick. One is, can you let me know in the comments, where are you struggling in your career? And let me help you just for a moment here. I probably won't be able to help you a lot if you're like, yeah, I'm really struggling with the way to write this, algorithm in Ruby or something like that. There's a lot of other YouTube channels that are way better than me at that. I'll be honest with you. I know how to write code, no problem, but that's not what this channel kind of is for. Where are you struggling in work-life balance in your software development career? Where are you struggling kind of maybe with relationships with people, with the expectations of the business? Maybe it's boundary setting. Maybe it's your diet. Maybe it's being able to fit in exercise. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's, it could be anything. I'm just throwing out there some ideas to sort of like, help you think of what I'm thinking about. Let me know in the comments though, because that'll help me inform this course that I am going to eventually deliver. I don't want, I'd prefer not to put out a course that nobody wants. I'd prefer to put one out that helps people. Now, I'm not going to create a course that is just full of here's what everybody wants, but I don't even know this. I'm not going to put anything out there that I haven't either personally done myself or I feel like I can offer a lot of personal value. I know there's a lot of people that create courses by just kind of like reading a bunch of stuff on the internet, putting it all together and selling it. I would not do that, okay? I'm sure I'd include links and there might be some things, that maybe you might want to buy from other people and things like that. But like, I'm not going to recommend anything to you that I haven't personally done or tried myself. But I'd love to know in the comments, to the level that you're willing to share, and I know it would help other people who view the comments too. What are you struggling with in your career? What's really holding you back right now? What do you really need help with? The other thing that you can do that will really help me with this channel is to share these videos with more people. I've made a little over 100 videos. I know many of the earlier ones are kind of a joke. It's me standing in front of a brick wall, for many of them. I'm not some big YouTuber with a high budget, for production and a ton of experience with, film techniques and a really expensive camera. I'm just a software developer who's been in the industry a long time that wants to help people. But, it's true that, I can't be a good father and work on my own issues and find my own individual opportunities for creativity through writing songs and stuff like that and have a job and do YouTube full-time and all this stuff. And I probably will never do YouTube full-time, but one of the things that you could really do to help me is, as you're going through your workday, or maybe if you run across people online or you run into a challenge at your company, if you remember a video of mine that really could, help them, or you remember something I said, share it with them. I know a lot of you are doing that already. I'm really thankful for the people that have shared my videos already. And this isn't a call to, hey, go out there and just start spamming my videos to everybody because I want to grow the channel huge. No, I want the channel to be the appropriate size that the people who are here are actually people that are interested in improving, the software companies that we work at in our careers to be healthy. I don't want some giant following audience of people who are just any old developer off the street who doesn't really care about any of this. So that's honestly what's most important to me. But it is true that I know how YouTube works. My videos have not appeared to millions of software developers yet. They haven't even seen them yet. So one of the ways that you can help is through word of mouth, share videos that have been valuable to you with other people. That would really help me. And kind of the last thing I wanted to say was just that I'm really thankful. I'm really grateful that I've even had this opportunity. We live in an amazing time where I can even get on here and have my own essentially TV show to broadcast episodes whenever I want. I mean, I'm so grateful for YouTube, and I'm really grateful for you. If I didn't have people out there watching these videos and giving feedback and helping each other, I wouldn't do them. So I just want to say thank you. I'm so encouraged by everybody who watches these. I don't ever need some giant YouTube channel to feel like that this is worth it. That is not what this is about. It's about helping people. I'm going to continue to be honest with you and try to, really give you value in these videos. But I also have to do this in a sustainable way. So thanks for watching. I'll give my usual spiel. If you'd rather listen to this as a podcast, you can just search for Healthy Software Developer. I'm on most podcast platforms now, and you can consider subscribing if you've never been here before, or if you've watched a few videos and you want to sub. But until next time, thank you again for just watching these videos and watching me honestly just go through the last 2 years trying to figure out, what do I really want to say? How do I really help people? And just being with me through this journey. So thanks so much. I'll see you next time.